technology has made it so easy to connect with other crocheters and yarny people, and I am so grateful for that. It brings me so much joy to be able to talk to you down in the comments and get conversations going and learn more about you. But the downside can be is then you realize that you don't have that same sort of yarn camaraderie in your real life. So let's talk for a minute about what we can do to start up a conversation with another crocheter in real life. So the first thing you're going to want to do is leave your house, which goes against like everything I feel. I love being at home. Home is my favorite place to be. And part of that, I think, is because I work with the public during the week. And so a lot of times I just want the quiet and solitude of my house. But guess what? There aren't any other crocheters in my house. So if I want to meet other crocheters in real life and start up a conversation with them, I need to leave my house. In a lot of other videos I have mentioned, like if you're looking for a safe place to go to find other yarny people or to wear your crochet, to go to the craft store. But the problem with that is oftentimes we end up spending money when we're there. So let's take this back a step and talk about what we can do without spending money. What I would suggest is to check out different groups that might be in your area. Unfortunately, in my area, it's so small and rural that we don't really have yarn groups and stuff like that. I do know there's one yarn group in the town I live nearby, and I can't remember what they call themselves. It's not a Stitch and Bitch, but it's something along that lines. Anyway, it is some retired ladies and they meet during the weekdays, and so it's just not that acceptable to those of us who are working. But definitely check out your area, check community boards, check your local library. You can even check with your Chamber of Commerce. Sometimes different nonprofit groups will have stuff listed there. See if there's any yarn groups to start out with. If you're like me and you don't have access to those type of things, I would recommend just taking your crochet with you to different places you're going. So if you're going to the dentist and you know you're going to have to wait in the waiting room for 20 minutes, or doctor's offices, or if you're taking your kids or your grandkids to a play date at the park, take your yarn there. Take it to the library with you and have that available. You can also, while you're at the library, you can check out the area of books with crochet, knitting, other yarn crafts, and see if there's anybody else hanging out in that aisle or not. If you're going to a coffee shop, now again, that is a spending money activity, but if that's something you do anyway, instead of getting your coffee and sitting in the car, take your crochet in with you and sit there in the coffee shop and crochet. Any type of activity where you find yourself where it would be natural for you to be there the amount of time that you could actually work on something, you shouldn't feel weird at all about taking that with you. And that opens the door for starters, especially if you're a person who maybe doesn't want to make that first move in the conversation. Have your stuff with you, be working on it, and leave that door open for them. Another way to show crocheters that you're a crocheter is wear some of your crochet out and about. I know I talk about that a lot, but I have had a ton of conversations with people in the yarn aisle or other places where I'm like waiting in line and people have asked me about a hat I'm wearing or something like that. Again, it is a great door opener just to be wearing that. They will ask, did you make it? Those activities are kind of putting you in a place where it will increase your odds of someone else talking to you. But what I want to really focus on here is if you happen to see someone doing those things, if they have crochet with them, or if they're wearing a piece, walk up to them. Take it as that green light that you can give them a compliment and start that conversation with them. And it's not like you have to enter in that conversation thinking you're going to be lifelong friends or anything. And you definitely don't want it to feel like you're selling something to them, like an ambush or something. But if you notice someone wearing something or working on their crochet, just introduce yourself. Say, hey, I am Shannon. I notice you're working on crochet. I love crochet so much. I would love to know what you're working on. I'm always looking for new ideas. or something along that lines. Just give them an earnest compliment if they're wearing something that you really like. Ask them if they made that bag or if they made their cardigan or whatever it is. And if they say yes, maybe say, do you happen to remember what pattern you used? It looks great on you, and I'd love to make one myself. Anything to really open that door up and just brighten someone's day. I've had several people over the years start up a conversation with me in the yarn aisle at different craft stores, and sometimes it is a little bit awkward. Sometimes they ask questions that I don't know the answer to. Sometimes they kind of don't know enough about yarn to really know what to ask, which also happens. So I guess kind of be prepared for any of those type of conversations to maybe feel a little bit awkward, but just remember, it's okay to feel awkward. Like, it's fine. You're not in any danger from feeling awkward. I feel awkward like literally probably 98% of the time, and I'm still here. But seriously though, it is okay to feel awkward. It is. And if you don't know the answer to a question or something like that, that's just fine. You can just tell them that. I would say don't force a type of conversation in the yarn aisle. If someone is looking at Super Saver and you already know everything about Super Saver, don't try to force the conversation like, do you like that yarn? I've never tried it. Something that might seem a little goofy or insincere. You want to avoid that, but definitely you can say, that's a gorgeous colorway. I love that. Or if you've used the yarn that they're looking at, you can say, I absolutely loved that yarn. It is a great choice. Anything like that where it's like a natural segue, I would say definitely go ahead with. So no matter where you've met this other yarny person, whether, you're waiting at the dentist or you're in a crochet group or in a coffee shop or the yarn aisle, what I would encourage you to do is to, if you're asking them a question, to kind of break that ice a little bit, use open-ended questions. So examples of open-ended questions would be things like, how did you learn to crochet? Do you have any tips for beginner crocheters? If you're a beginner crocheter. If you've been crocheting 50 years, definitely don't ask that question. Open-ended questions are ones that they need to elaborate on a little more instead of a closed-ended question, which is like a yes or no or like a real quick one. Something like that would be like, do you watch Bag O' Day on YouTube? And then they're either like, no, or yes. I mean, you're betting on the assumption that they're going to say yes, and then you might have that to bond over. But if they say no, then you probably will feel awkward and you won't know how to segue out of that. A better question would be, do you have any favorite yarny YouTube channels that you really enjoy watching or you've learned a lot from, and kind of take it from there. And then that way, if they suggest any, you can be like, oh my gosh, yes, I love that channel. Or, I haven't ever heard of that channel. So you can keep that conversation going. And I know this sounds simple, but a lot of times we just need to stop and think about it for a minute and realize that meeting yarny people isn't really any different than just meeting random people. But I think we put a little more pressure on ourselves if we're wanting to get to know more people with similar interests. And, you kind of I know I build that up in my mind a little bit and don't feel as comfortable. The stakes are higher than if it's just some random person I'm saying hello to in the aisle. And of course, be mindful of that person's body language. If they're smiling, if they look like they're having a good time, I would definitely kind of take those as green lights. If they look annoyed, or if they are checking their phone a whole bunch, or, putting off cues that they're frustrated, I would say that is not the person to approach on that day. Probably if someone has trying to pick out some yarn and they've got 2 or 3 kids in their cart that are kind of acting up, and that person is maybe looking a little flustered, probably not the best time. But, if you see me browsing the aisle and I I don't seem like I have a care in the world or don't seem to be remotely aware of what time it is, then I'm probably a good person to say hello to and strike up that yarn conversation with. And just don't make assumptions about that person before you've even said hello. I think it is easy to fall into traps of, thinking, oh, this person is older than me, they won't want to talk to me, or this person is younger than me, they won't think I'm cool, or whatever the reason or whatever it is that we have in our mind, which I think a lot of times is kind of our own insecurities just rising up through the surface. We need to realize if that thought pops in there, that is just us, and it is not that person judging you. That is all in your head. So, there is a chance that person doesn't want to talk to you. That's definitely a chance. But don't make that decision for them. Don't decide for them that they don't want to talk to you. For the most part, I feel like the yarn community is really awesome. There's definitely some outliers out there for sure, but I would say 90% of everyone I come into contact is usually very nice, very welcoming, and people in the yarn aisle have been very helpful. And when I see people crocheting, it just brings a smile to my face, and you make eye contact and you smile. It's just very warm people. I think cozy hobbies are kind of a good indication of a person with a good heart. I hope that's true. I hope you feel that same way that I do. And I hope that if you are wanting to make some more connections outside of YouTube or Instagram or wherever, I hope that you do kind of allow yourself to be vulnerable and put yourself out there and really just strike up a conversation, or at least put yourself in positions where someone might strike up a conversation with you. And speaking of conversations, I would like to invite you to be part of my inner circle. And when I say this, what I mean is I want to be starting a little bit of an email group where we can have a few more conversations that we're not having on YouTube. And this isn't like a group or a paid type of thing. What I am looking for is a group of people to kind of bounce some ideas off. I would love to get some input from you about different yarn opinions and crochet opinions and experiences that you've had. If this is something you are interested in, please let me know, because how I foresee this is like once a month sending out an email with some different questions in it, some different ideas, and asking you your opinions on these things, and then trying to gather information from that and maybe compiling some of that information to put into occasional videos that are like inner circle based. I just know that there's so many years of crochet experience that are accounted for down in my comments section, and I absolutely love that. I think that is amazing. So this isn't in any way some type of salesy thing or like a revenue driven thing. What this is just if you feel comfortable enough emailing me back if I ask you some questions, and it wouldn't be required or anything, but I just kind of want to have like a group that I can send an email to like once a month or every 6 weeks or something like that, and bounce some ideas off of. What I'll do is I am going to put a link down in the description box to a Google form that you can fill out so that your personal information won't be anywhere where anybody sees anything. It'll just be me seeing it. And then of course what I'll do is, send out an additional one and just go over any questions. And then you'll have my email address at that point. So you'll know, to check for it and make sure it's not going into spam and all that stuff. But I just can't think of a better way to continue our conversation and to really build on that and really improve some of the knowledge that I can pass to other people by gathering it through in a crochet inner circle. It's not a very catchy name. Maybe I'll come up with with something better, but probably not. If that's something you're interested in, please check that out down in the description box, and then follow the Google link to the form and fill that out so I know that you're interested in being part of my inner circle. I've enjoyed talking about crochet with you today, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. I always have fun when we get to talk. Bye.